Well, your family's always number one, Brisbane's 96.5. It is Ilija. Well, spring is here. That means maybe heading out for the weekend looking at houses. Maybe your first one, or maybe you're thinking about changing the one you have. Virginia Henery from Remax Territory joins us with some real estate tips. Virginia, good morning.
Good morning, Ilija.
Now, just imagine this. You just put the contract on a house and it's all gone pear-shaped. What do you do if all goes wrong? Virginia, can you shed some light on this?
Yeah, sure. Look, it depends on what's happening. There's a few ways of getting out of a contract that you've signed for a house. Probably the first one is that under the law, you've got a 5-day cooling off period. So from the time that you or your solicitor receive a copy of the contract, you've got 5 business days from which you can just pull out for any reason. You don't have to really give a reason. It's just because you change your mind. You do have to realise, though, if you pull out under that 5-day cooling off period, you can be liable for up to 0.25% of the purchase price, and that's at the seller's discretion. So depending on the reasons as to why you are pulling out of the contract, and that's just to cover the seller's costs for having to go through the process of cancelling the contract.
What other things can go wrong?
Yeah, sure. Look, normally one of the conditions of the contract is upon receiving finance approval as a buyer. So if you've gone through the process and then you realise that you can't actually get finance approval, all you do is you advise the solicitor that it hasn't been successful, then they advise the other solicitor, and if there's no way of being able to remedy that, then it's just a clean split. The contract's over, the deposit gets refunded. Same thing with the building and pest. So if the contract is conditional upon a building and pest inspection, and you find out that it's just something really terrible has happened and there's no way of negotiating, and as a buyer you decide you just don't want to go through with it and you're not interested in buying the house anymore. Same as the finance, you just advise the solicitor, who then advises the seller's solicitor, and the contract comes to an end. And again, because you pull out under a term of the contract, then the deposit is refunded and you're not liable for anything. Sometimes there might be special terms and conditions on the contract, so it might be subject to, say, a structural engineer report or something, because you know that there might be a problem, or there might be something along the lines of making sure that grandma loves the house or whatever. There's lots of conditions that you can put on a contract. So if there is something that is written on the contract that the contract is subject to those conditions, then you can pull out, and as long as it's within the time frame specified, and you get your deposit refunded. If you need to pull out for other reasons, then that's when it becomes a bit tricky and you have to get legal advice on that, and you won't normally get your deposit back if you pull out for other reasons.
Virginia, so I guess the key is to cover yourself when you're doing up a contract.
Yeah, that's right. You do have to be aware that when you do sign a contract, it is a legal binding document and you have to take it really seriously. So if there are issues there that you might be a little bit concerned about and you're worried that you don't really want to go through with it if something happens for whatever reason it is, but it might be something like you're worried that the main roads are going to put a road right in front of your house or anything, you can make it subject to things like that, so you can go and do your searches and make sure you're all happy with things like that. But if it's not written in the contract, then you don't have any grounds to pull out of the contract without being penalised for it.
Yeah, some good tips there. Virginia Henery from Remax Territory, thank you so much for joining us with those tips.